Be Frankie.
Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy BDELL. If you're new to this channel, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. In tonight's transmission, we're going to be breaking down the cosmic apparatus when we're talking about UFOs and interdimensional, outer-dimensional, extraterrestrial entities and how it coincides with the full disclosure, because it's kind of like they're giving us a compartmentalized form of methodology. They're giving us the truth in increments, because all this is going to be facilitated by the boss cluster when you're talking about Elihu, the 19th galaxy of planet Risk, that was basically extrapolated by Dr. Malakazi York's publications. And we're also going to be talking about the so-called alien threat to the planet, when really it's going to be based on the return of the Anunnaki. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we finna cook up this knowledge. So put the rice bowls in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Put those rice bowls in the chat, because we finna cook up some information. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we finna get straight to it. We finna get straight to it. Now, there's many different things that's taking place on the planet. Now, a lot of people don't know what the Anunnaki means. The Anunnaki means, when you break down the etymology, it means those sent by Anu to Ki. When you look at the suffix of the word Ki or Anunnaki, the Ki right here at the bottom means Kai. Kai is equated to QI, but you get the QI from the geo in geometry. Right? This is why they have the letter G in the Freemasonic compass. The letter G is personification of geometry. So when you look at the prefix of the word geometry, you get QI, right? That's what it translates to. And QI translates to KI, which is Ki. So Anu is also known as the heavenly one, or El Elyon El is what we call Theos. Theos is another nomenclature title for Anu. So Anu is the personification of the Most High. So those sent by Anu to Ki. Ki means Kai, Kai means planet Earth. So the Anunnaki came down to the planet when they was doing many different forms of excavations, when they were mining for golds and things of that nature. So that's what we're going to get into today. We're going to get into the inception of creation and how it coincides with everything that's going to be taking place from futuristic events. So like I said, the return of the Anunnaki, Freedom Master Teacher. In this video that I'm putting out tonight, this transmission, this demonstration that I'm putting out is going to give you the keys and the clues that's going to basically give you the whole blueprint that basically demonstrates the fact that Dr. Malakazi York was right the whole time. There's a reason why he has that many years in prison, right? Because he was putting all this information inside of his publications. That's what you must understand. And also, everybody in the chat put Dr. Malakazi York was right. Dr. York was right. And I'm going to demonstrate that tonight. So with that being said, now this is what we're going to get into right here. And it says a possibility hostile alien threat detected in unknown interstellar object, a shocking new study claims, right? Now this is in, the multi, westernized media. They putting this out in the media right now, right? In real time. While your ass is still going to church, while your ass is still going to the mosque, they up here giving us the true information about extraterrestrial entities, right? Because they got to operate from the threefold law. The threefold law is where they give you the truth in the form of entertainment and semantics. But like I said, as we get to the apex of the golden age, this is where you got to turn on your spiritual eye, because the spiritual eye is going to be the first eye to where you're able to see beyond the illusion. A lot of people don't have the ability to see beyond the illusion because they're stuck inside of indoctrination programs that is facilitated by the cube. The cube is the box, and the box is your mind. So you got to think outside the box in order to understand what's taking place on the planet, right? So the possibility hostile alien threat detected in unknown interstellar object, a shocking new study claims. Now, like I said, this is in the media. They putting it all out in the public domain. Now, here's another publication. It says in the New York Post, a rare interstellar object the size of Manhattan could be an alien probe, Harvard scientists. You can't make this up. Now, this is where we're going to get into the Boss cluster, right? And it says right here in this publication verbatim, the Boss cluster, the Boss supercluster, the largest known structure, 830 galaxies spanning 1 billion light years, a potential civilization's paradise. Now, one thing you got to understand about words, because words in itself are portals just like numbers. So when you see the word paradise, what paradise are they basically speaking of? Because when you're talking about paradise, that's equated to monotheistic religion. A paradise is basically the abode of the heavens or the abode of the Most High, right? And I'm going to extrapolate that. Now in the Bible, it says paradise and heaven are close related, with paradise often used as a synonym for a specific aspect of heaven, particularly in the New Testament, while heaven generally refers to a dwelling place of God and the angels. Paradise specifically denotes a state of blessedness and immediate comfort for the righteous after death. So like I said, it's one of those things where you got to get into, sacred geometry. Everything in the universe moves in a logistical order, meaning that everything has boundaries, everything has, principles and laws. So you have the laws of the cosmos. So everything that you see as far as like emulations and blueprints or whatever, they're actually a derivative of something that was a part of the megastructure when you're talking about the macrocosmic aspect when you get into cosmology. So everything that you're seeing right here is really a map of the 19th galaxy of what we call Ilihun. Ilihun is known as the 19th galaxy. So this is in part of Dr. York's publication, The Holy Tablets. It shows you the Boss supercluster right here on the right. So this was put out in Dr. Malachi Z. York's publication in the early 2000s, right? And he was talking about the three suns, which is a trinary star system, which is Utu, Apsu, and Shamish. So the 19th galaxy is really the Boss supercluster, known as the largest structure in the galaxy, right? And they call it the paradise, right? So why would you call something that's, equated to cosmology, why would you call it a paradise? That's because it's actually the personification of the heavens, right? But one thing that Dr. Malachi Z. York forgot about is that when you get into the etymology of certain words, yes, the Boss cluster is often used to refer to the Boss Great Wall, but what is the Great Wall? That Great Wall is actually the ice wall in Antarctica, because the ice wall in Antarctica is actually, when you go beyond the ice wall, that is basically the personification of the heavens. The 19th galaxy is beyond the ice wall. The heavens is beyond the ice wall. The paradise is beyond the ice wall, right? So that's why when you go to many different places in Antarctica, there's a no-fly zone. And the reason they have a no-fly zone that creates the sigil of Moloch or the sigil of Lucifer. There's a reason for that, because Lucifer's palace is inside of Antarctica, right? Because Antarctica is actually a frozen library, and that's where the apex of civilization started to take place when it was in alignment with the Milky Way star constellation, which is why Antarctica in the inception of time in the first sun cycle was a tropical civilization. So this is a part of the sleep spell as well. So when you see the no-fly zone, it creates the Khazarian Tamga, it creates the Maruvian symbol, and it also creates the sigil of Lucifer and the sigil of Moloch. So like I said, it's another way to spell cast this geographical landmass in Antarctica, because they know that the heavens is beyond the ice wall. The paradise is beyond the ice wall. The super Boss cluster is beyond the ice wall. The paradise that they speak of in the Bible is beyond the ice wall, because one thing you got to understand about Antarctica, they have many different, biosignatures when you're talking about anthracite coal. Anthracite coal, which is beyond the ice wall, has the ability to power a civilization for 700 years. So it's based on free energy. So the heavens and the Anunnaki, whatever you're talking about in all forms of monotheistic religion, everything they basically talking about is beyond the ice wall. And the reason I really decoded that, like I said, they came out with many different publications talking about there's worlds beyond the ice wall. But one thing you got to understand is that everything is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So when you get into the inception of etymology and you break down these words, right? The boss supercluster, you see paradise right here. And it's also known as the Great Wall. Why would you call something, according to, cosmological artifacts, why would you call it a wall? Because that wall is actually beyond the ice wall, right? The 19th galaxy, the heavens that they speak about in the Bible, that they speak about in the Holy Quran. When you go to the Holy Quran, chapter 83, verse 6, it talks about Iliad. Iliad translates to Ilihun. Ilihun is what we call the 19th galaxy. The boss cluster that Dr. Malachi Z. York was basically breaking down. Not a coincidence. So there's a reason why. And right before you had, the shutdown in 2020, in 2019, they had the Deep Space Shuttle government, they had a meeting in Antarctica. It was a secret meeting they had in 2019, right before you had the shutdown of the draconian juice. So they took an excavation to Antarctica, and the reason that is because they had a meeting with the Luciferian Anunnaki. So one thing you got to understand about the simulation is literally like a fifth dimensional chess game. It's a video game, literally. So the meeting that they had with Lucifer in Lucifer's palace in Antarctica, they met with the Luciferian Anunnaki. And they basically was told that if they don't complete certain rituals of what we call missions in video games, if they don't complete those rituals or whatever, their time is going to run out, and they're basically no longer going to have dominion over the planet. Because when you go to El's Holy Injil, Revelation 17:17, it says the evil reptilian gave power to the beast. But the reptilian is also the personification of Lucifer, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. But the beast is the Canaanite. The Canaanite are the ones who is cultivated by the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, who is also being protected by the 9 knights, who is also the 9 of the divine 9 of the Boule system, right? That is comprised of your Canaanite bloodline, right? So that means that the evil reptilian is actually Lucifer. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. So Lucifer, he basically gave them an ultimatum. He said, if you guys don't complete these missions, you don't complete these psychological operations, because, one thing you got to understand about the Luciferian Anunnaki is really the epitome of the fallen ones, right? When you break down the word Nephilim, you get Nephala. Nephala means fallen angel. And those fallen angels, they don't have the ability to create, meaning that they're ruler gods, just like the archons in the Gnostic texts, right? So that means that they're stuck inside of the system. They stuck inside of the demiurge. And the reason that is, the reason they have to use the Canaanite to complete these ritualistic sacrifices within the simulation, because that's basically how they feed off the sustenance of human beings on the planet, right? So Antarctica, that's what the meeting was about. The Deep Space Shuttle government, they had a meeting with the Luciferian Anunnaki, and they had to complete the missions within the simulation, which is rituals, before you have the great return of the Anunnaki, the true Anunnaki, of what we call the Elohim, right? Of what we call the Riskians, the ones who have the ability to provide, the providers of planet Earth, who are basically the supreme architects, right? That's why I said, just like you have a dualistic energy when it comes to Canaanites and the true people of the planet, you also have a dualistic dichotomy when it comes to the Luciferian Anunnaki and the Elohim Anunnaki, or what we call the Riskians, right? So that meeting in Antarctica, they had that right before you had the shutdown. And then you got the no-fly zone over in Antarctica that creates a sigil of Lucifer. Now, where we go, I got to show you this here for a second. I got to go all the way down, because I got to show you that, A lot of people who are stuck inside of monotheistic religion, they're never going to be able to comprehend, when it comes to extraterrestrial entities. They're never going to comprehend it because, like I said, they're boxed in from a indoctrinated program. So when you go to the Holy Tablets, it says Anunnaki in part reptilian, Lucifer a product of a mixed marriage, being the son of the two beings, the reptilian Tarnush rape, the Anunnaki Malita, which made Lucifer part reptilian. Now, we're going to get back to this here in a second because I'm going to demonstrate. A lot of people don't understand how shape-shifting and the mechanics of it and how it works, but I'm going to demonstrate that as we get through the presentation. But I had to show you that Lucifer is actually a draconian reptilian, and his palace is actually in Antarctica. And Antarctica is a frozen library. It's a frozen library of knowledge. It's a part of the sleep spell because when Antarctica unthaws, that's where the pole shift is going to take place, and that's where the sleep spell is going to be eradicated. It all coincides with psychotronic magic. Psychotronic magic is really occult cybernetics, basically. So now, they had the meeting in Antarctica. So, as I was telling you guys before, when you're talking about the word Ilihum, the word Ilihum of what you see right here, where my cursor is at, Ilihum is equated to the word Ilai. Ilai is either referring to the Most High or the supreme places above Jannah, right? The Garden of Eden or paradise. So Ilihum of what, like I said, you see the word paradise right here. It's speaking about this in the Holy Quran, chapter 83. Paradise, Ilihum, Ilai. So then when you go to Holy Tablets, it shows you Ilihum, right? This is why I said that you have to do the scholarship, because if you don't do the damn scholarship, your ass is going to get lost in the sauce and you're not going to understand the diametrical differences between good and evil. That's why I said you got to break down these words. You got to study. You can't just, just be in the sun and just getting downloads. You have to confirm your download through the edification, through the knowledge that you're basically demonstrating whenever you're reading books, whenever you're watching documentaries. You do that to confirm the download and basically enhance the download, right? So don't take misinformation from people telling you that you ain't got to read no books from man and stuff like that, because just like men on the planet get downloads too, and they put them inside books. So that's why I said it's an ancient library. Antarctica is an ancient library, and that library is connected to our neurological functions when you're talking about the akashic records, right? Because when the pole shift takes place, the pole shift takes place in the body first before it actually takes place on the planet, right? And the reason I say that is because when it goes through the unraveling process of your DNA structure, of what we call junk DNA, when it goes through the unraveling process, that's when you're able to activate the subconscious mind and pull out information from the akashic records, which is basically the library of the DNA of the library, same thing. So that means that your genetic format is tether connected to Antarctica. You can't dig into the akashic records. You can't really go deep into the knowledge that deep until Antarctica, the frozen library is unthawed. So that's why I said, Ilihum, Ilai, the place, the paradise that they speak about in the Bible is actually beyond the ice wall. You can't make this up, right? So it shows you Boss Cluster, the Great Wall. The Great Wall is the ice wall. Now it tells you right here the paradise. Boss supercluster, paradise here at the bottom. Like I said, you got to pay attention to the signs. They're telling you the truth every time, but y'all going to miss the message because y'all so caught up into what Dr. Umar is doing. Y'all caught up into celebrity gossip, right? Don't nobody give a damn about what's taking place when you're talking about, external stimulation and many different forms of psychological operations and distractions. Nobody cares about that stuff. What you need to be worried about is this stuff right here, because they're basically telling you what time it is on the planet by way of signs, symbols, and sigils and numerology. And if you understand it by way of etymology, you will be able to break the spell as we get through the pole shift, right? And you're going to make it when you get to the hereafter, right? Because you're going to have that seal of protection. Now, like I said, the perception of art imitates reality. Paradise right here. This is the boss cluster, but the boss cluster is also known as the 19th galaxy. Right here on the right, where Dr. York, put this inside of his publication of the Holy Tablets. So when you're looking at this image right here that was created by Dr. York, you're really looking at this, right? It says paradise, the Great Wall, outside the ice wall. The 19th galaxy is beyond the ice wall. This is why they have the no-fly zone, the sigil of Lucifer. Lucifer, his palace is basically in Antarctica. So that's why the Deep State Shadow Government, they had a secret meeting in Antarctica. And then when you look at the word Ilihun right here, Ilihun translates to Ili. When you get into ancient Proto-Semitic language and you break it down from Nuwapic language. So Ili is a place of paradise, just like it said where you read where the boss cluster was. So heavens is beyond the ice wall. The paradise is beyond the ice wall. The 19th galaxy is beyond the ice wall. The three suns that they speak about in Hopi mythology, the Utu, Apsu, and Shamish, is beyond the ice wall, because when you get beyond the ice wall, that's when you break the firmament. But the firmament is a part of the sleep spells. It's a part of the Van Allen belt that's tether connected to Saturn and the moon. Now, this is what I was talking about, the three suns, right? The three suns is what creates a tachyon. But before we get started with that, I'm going to show you another video. Like I said, if you feel like I'm cooking up some information, some much needed information, put the rice bowls in the chat. Put the rice bowls in the chat. You already know what time it is. Put the rice bowls in the chat. And put Dr. Malachi Z. York was right in the chat. That's important. They gave that man 175 years for no reason. And he was right the whole time. And I'm showing you by way of imagery and etymology that he was right the whole damn time. Understand that. Share this video, please. All right. Hold on for a second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we finna get to the video.
Colossal is tearing through the heavens faster than anything.
Notice he said it's tearing through the heavens. Remember what I told you the heavens was. They told you that the super boss cluster was the paradise. It tells you in the Holy Quran, chapter 83, that Ili is also known as the paradise. And then when you break down the etymology of the word super boss cluster, it is also known as the Great Wall. What's the Great Wall? The ice wall. So that means that the heavens, the paradise, is beyond the ice wall that he's actually speaking about in westernized media. I'm gonna play the video.
We've seen before. It's not just space, dust, or a rogue rock. This might be an interstellar messenger. Scientists are scrambling. The cosmos has thrown us.
Now remember, we also in a time of Gemini. Gemini is going to be in Uranus all the way up until the year of 2033. But Gemini is also associated with the messenger, just like he said, right? Everything lines up. The receipts is receipting, right? Play it back a little bit.
Interstellar messenger. Scientists are scrambling. The cosmos has thrown us a curveball, one we never saw coming.
This might be living among us, right here on Earth, disguised as humans. And all the UFO sightings we hear about, those are just spaceships from other planets coming to visit their alien friends here on Earth.
A Titanic.
You see how the Canaanite does? They give you technology. They give you entertainment, right? They put it in the form of comedy when they really telling your ass the truth the whole time, right? So this is why I said you got to deviate from the indoctrination programs that is embedded inside the trauma and the psychological operations, which created a psychological egregore, which is a form of dark psychology, right? And that dark psychology puts caps on your neurons to where you're not able to think outside the box. They want to keep you boxed in, right? But now, since we're going through the golden age, it's kind of hard to break those caps off those neurons, right? It's hard to break away from the indoctrination programs. That's why they work so hard from the age of 7, 14 to 21, increments of 7. They work so hard to keep you indoctrinated. So now when your ass is about, 40 years old, you believing in Jesus, and they've been putting the truth in the movies the whole time. They've been showing you Alien versus Predator. They've been showing you, The Man Who Fell to Earth. They've been showing you all these movies. The truth is inside the movies. I keep telling y'all that. It's not inside the books. The books in itself, yes, they can give you edification and downloads and help you draw a conclusion with your download, but you have to watch the movies, because the movies is what's going to help you remember. The movie is going to unlock and unravel the sleep spell in the mind, right? It's going to break down that box. Just like when you break it down the box and you throwing away trash and shit, break down that box mentally and take that shit in the alley and throw it in the garbage, right? You have to ascend at a higher level mentally in order to get to the next level. And a lot of people are not going to be able to do that because, like I said, they just came out not too long ago. They said that there's a new study that there's only about maybe 120 million souls on the planet out of 8 billion people, right? And that's only about 1 to 3% of the human population. So, like I said, everybody's not going to make it. Stop trying to save everybody. Stop trying to save empty vessels, people who are basically soulless, right? That's because they wasn't chosen for the mission, right? So I'm going to keep playing the video.
Celestial object has ripped through the edge of...
From other planets, coming to visit their alien friends here on Earth.
A titanic celestial object has ripped through the edge of our solar system, defying all expectations, breaking all known speed limits and silencing seasoned scientists. Hurtling through space at a velocity that challenges belief, this is no ordinary asteroid. This is the largest, fastest, and only the third confirmed interstellar object ever recorded by humanity, and it's coming our way. Designated 3-Eye Atlas. This is the path of the cosmic object.
Now, they said that the object is basically called the 3-Eye Atlas. And then, remember in my last transmission, when I was talking about the 6-minute solar eclipse that's going to be taking place on August 2nd. And that 6-minute solar eclipse, how you know that this interstellar object that they're basically talking about is not going to come here until 2027, and it's going to hover over the whole planet for about 6 minutes, which can lead up to the 3 days of darkness. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's just, from my own, logical assertions.
In its present trajectory, it will fly deep through the solar system, passing just inside the orbit of Mars. Scientists are baffled. Is it a rogue comet? An ancient relic flung from a dying star system? Or could it be something even more thrilling? An alien probe silently scanning our solar neighborhood? Make no mistake. This is no regular orbiting rock. It's cutting across the solar system at a blistering pace. This new cosmic visitor is similar to Oumuamua, which created quite a buzz for its unique shape, which is unlike any other asteroid. Oumuamua was first detected on October 2017. With telescopes around the world now locked on target, and probes soon adjusting their gaze, the race to decipher this enigma is on. The universe just knocked on our front door. What mysteries does this 3-Eye Atlas holds?
So who are these aliens living among us? They're called Cryptoterrestrials. They're highly advanced.
Now, speaking about the Cryptoterrestrials, I actually did a video about the Cryptoterrestrials, and they actually try to remove the video. And if after this video, I might put it at the end of the video, a link or whatever. I might put it in the comments or whatever. But there's a video that I talked about the Cryptoterrestrials, and they almost removed the video. But I'm going to keep playing the video.
Advanced, incredibly deceptive, and they're capable of hiding in plain sight. There are several theories on the origins of these cryptoterrestrials. Some speculate an advanced ancient civilization was destroyed, with only a few surviving in secrecy, possibly in the base on a moon. And we don't know for certain where these cryptoterrestrials are from, or even if they exist, but one thing's for certain. Many believers think that the government knows more than they're letting on. A Pentagon official came forward this week revealing their 7-minute encounter with a glowing turquoise UFO, which gave off enough energy to power a city. That official isn't alone. More UFO whistleblowers are breaking their silence and
the reason that is because, you know, UFOs, especially the ones that come from the 19th galaxy and wasn't made by the government, the true, you know, UFOs and shims and things of that nature, they operate on 4th octave ether. And the reason that is that they have the ability to absorb all forms of technological radiation, and they use it for cloaking. It's a cloaking technology to where it's able to bend the photon-like spectrum by way of frequencies. That's, like I said, this is why they have to transmute the atmosphere back into a hydrogen-based state, which is also going to cause a pole shift because it's going to create an influx of carbon dioxide that gives a glow and a bioluminescent energy to all forms of ecological systems of nature. And once that happens, that's where you're going to have the birthing process of what we call the Great Solar Flash. But I don't want to get too deep into that, but I'm going to keep playing the video.
exposing what they've seen. Watch.
Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. It's rotating. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that, man. Look at it fly.
The biological anthropology professor who conducted this study, Michael Masters, joins us now. Okay, Professor, have you seen one of these, what are they called, cryptoterrestrials living among us?
I've not seen one personally, no. And actually, the study is a very conservative approach to this question. As you did a great job highlighting in your intro piece there, this is a real phenomenon, and we need to take it seriously, and we need to start asking the questions about what are they, who are they, where are they coming from, potentially when are they coming from, and even could they have set up shop here on Earth in the past and be living amongst us?
Wow, you say it's a real phenomenon. How do we know it's a real phenomenon?
I mean, if you look across time and space, these have been reported for millennia. And even if you don't want to take that at face value, look at the cockpit videos, look at all of the reports by military, police officers, whose testimony we can certainly take seriously because they're trained to identify things that are a threat, and they're trained to identify things that are unexplainable. And there's so many cases where they do report just that.
So the difference is we all see these things or hear about them visiting, right, in the spaceship, or there's a sighting. But this study takes it a step further. It's saying they're living among us. Does that mean like Gutfeld's an alien and he's just disguised as a cable TV host?
It's certainly
Here's another thing though. Don't get caught up into the information so much to the point where you think this is all being engineered by the Anunnaki and all this other stuff, because Project Bluebeam does exist. And that's a part of the program as well. So this could be the segue for Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is setting the stage for it, right? But also, like I said, everything in the Matrix is very tricky. Remember, during that broadcast, it was put out that, it was a possibility that Dr. Umar could be a part of the FBI because his ex-girlfriend, she seen like papers and it had the FBI symbol, and he hurried up and took the papers off the kitchen table, right? So how you know that they're not using him as a catalyst in the form of distraction right now to deviate from the fact that everything that's taking place on the planet right now is as we're going through the reset? How do you know that they're not using Dr. Umar Johnson as a distraction to distract the conscious community from what's really going on, which is this type of stuff, everything that I'm breaking down in the video? So that's why I said the matrix and everything can be very tricky. That's why I say you got to be very meticulous, and you got to use your intuition, and you got to use your mental and your spiritual fortitude to break down the illusion, right? Just because they look like us don't mean they us.
possible, and I would look into that because you never know. But we should take the question of UFOs seriously. What we're trying to do is offer a grounded scientific approach to some possibilities about what they might be. So yeah, there have been other proposals as well. Me personally, I've written 3 books about whether they could be future human time travelers coming back to visit their own past, and in the same way I would as a biological anthropologist if I had access to that technology. And that is one of the possibilities we include in this.
Well, we are tracking a new discovery this afternoon. Scientists just finding something beyond our skies. Here's 10 weather impact meteorologist Meredith Garfalo with those details.
History was just made amongst the stars last week with the discovery of an interstellar object coming to our solar system from a galaxy far, far away. This marks just the 3rd time on record a celestial body has crossed into our solar system from another. The object, which we now have confirmed from astronomers.
Anytime you have a planet from a different star system that's entering our star system of what we call the Earth zone or the Milky Way star constellation, what happens is they call that an exoplanet. And the exoplanet is also known as a rogue planet because a rogue planet has the ability to create its own autonomous infrastructure. It has its own solar system. We're going to get into that as well as we get through the presentation, but I'm going to finish the video. So an exoplanet is a planet that's coming from beyond other dimensional realities and other star systems. That's what an exoplanet is.
Is a comet named 3I Atlas, and it was initially observed by a telescope located in Chile on July 1st. Now, this telescope is just one of 4 worldwide that's part of an alert system, keeping an eye out for anything moving in space that could pose a threat to our planet. Now, good news. Thankfully, this whirling ball, which is made up of ice, rock, and dust, is not on a collision course with Earth. The closest it will get, well, that point is about 150 million miles away. Back to you.
Now, I didn't know this. Almost all cosmic visitors, like comets and asteroids, come from within our solar system, not from some galaxy far, far away. And that's because it's very hard for a cosmic object to break away from a star's gravitational pull. Now, I know this because only the 3rd interstellar object ever recorded has been in the news. 3I Atlas was spotted on 1st of July by NASA. Now, this comet-like object is racing towards the sun at over 133,000 miles per hour. Before you ask, no, it poses no threat to Earth.
A titanic celestial object has ripped through the edge of our solar system. Hurling through space at a velocity that challenges belief, this is no ordinary asteroid, nor a regular orbiting rock. This is the largest, fastest, and only the 3rd confirmed interstellar object ever recorded by humanity. The object was initially labeled as A11PL3Z, but later renamed to 3I Atlas, where 3I denotes its status as the 3rd interstellar object detected.
3I Atlas was discovered.
Notice that. Look at why they got planet Earth looking like that. Now, I'm going to show you something that's in a close emulation that was inside Dr. York's publication. It shows you the planet Earth being broken off, right? That's what Alpha and Omega is, because in the inception of time, the planet broke off due to the extraction of plutonium bombs and broke planet Earth in half, planet Tiamat. It talks about that in the Holy Tablets. So how you know that this 3I Atlas, this so-called, comet or a probe or whatever, when it's really a cylindrical craft? How you know that this is not coming back and it contains a certain G-force to where it's going to cause, and mess up the, and cause a biological, a humanitarian crisis on the planet? How you know that this probe or this comet or the 3I Atlas is not going to create the same type of dynamic that happened during the time when you had the resets? You had many different floods before the flood of Noah. You had about 4 or 5 resets, that happened before the flood of Noah, right? So how you know that this interstellar object is not coming to do the same thing, right? And I'm going to show you a close-up image of what was in Dr. Malakazi York's publication that shows you the same depiction.
It denotes its status as the 3rd interstellar object detected.
3i Atlas was discovered on July 1st by the NASA-funded Atlas survey. It was discovered using their telescope at Rio Hurtado in Chile, and it was first detected as a speck of light moving relative to background stars. We collected a good amount of data, more than 100 observations. We know its trajectory fairly well. We know it came from outside the solar system. Right now, it's inside the orbit of Jupiter and is headed for its closest pass to the sun at the end of October. That's going to be barely inside the orbit of Mars, and then it's going to keep going on its way out of the solar system.
The first interstellar object ever seen from Earth was called Oumuamua. The name means scout in Hawaiian.
In 2017, that was also the first year where they had the solar eclipse that also created the ancient Alpha symbol. I'm going to demonstrate that as we get through the presentation as well. Remember, 2017, that was a part of the 2023 solar eclipse and the 2024 solar eclipse. They created the ancient Hebrew Alpha symbol over the geographical landmass of America, which created the judgment symbol. And that judgment symbol of the ancient Alpha symbol represents the number 19, which is Alpha and Omega.
Chosen to honor the observatory in Hawaii that discovered it back in 2017. Following Oumuamua, the second confirmed interstellar comet was 2I Borisov, founded in 2019 by Crimean amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov. Our third interstellar visitor is on the path that will carry it deep into the solar system, passing just inside the orbit of Mars.
It's a rare opportunity, and as a scientific community, we want to collect as many data as possible to characterize this object and learn as much as we can.
According to Teddy Curetta, an assistant professor at Villanova University near Philadelphia, the 3I Atlas is moving at nearly 37 miles per second or 133,200 miles per hour. The researchers say the 3I Atlas could be around 3 billion years older than our 4.5 billion-year-old solar system, making it older than any other interstellar object ever observed.
From images, we also saw that this object is active, which means that around the nucleus there is some coma, which is an indication that this object is in fact a comet. Right now, it's hard to say how big this object is because being active, the brightness that we see is partially due to the size of the object, but also is partially due to the activity. And so we cannot really pinpoint the nucleus size directly. We have to better understand how active this object is, and then we can refine the size estimate.
So with that being said, now we finna get back to the presentation at hand. And like I said, put the rice bowls in the chat because we cooking up information that they trying to hide, right? It's getting so easy to the point where it's almost like they putting it in our face to see who's going to catch on of what's taking place on the planet. It's getting too easy to decode everything that's taking place. Now, from my opinion, like I said, that 3I Atlas, that so-called alien probe, it could be coming from the trinary star system where you have the supercluster. Now, it says right here in this publication. Now, one thing, like I said, these are for anybody who's in the chat. If you a Christian, you a Bible thumper, whatever, you follow religion, this is where it's going to get critical for you in the golden age, right? Because y'all got a stronghold to the religion. Now, you got to ask yourself this. Why would Pope Leo be the key to UFO disclosure? An ex-Vatican advisor says. You got to scratch your head and think about that, right? Why, in fact, why does the Vatican hold a UFO conference? It's called the Search for Life Beyond the Solar System, talking about exoplanets, biosignatures, which is molecules that come from different star systems. Why would they be talking about that? Why would they hold a conference every 10 years talking about UFOs and extraterrestrials? Why would the Vatican do that? That's because it's actually the truth. But your ass is going to church. Your ass is shouting and all this stuff, running around the church, getting baptized. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's one of those things where you got to operate from a place of rationality and logic. Because if the people who control the system are talking about UFOs and they giving you religion, that means that what they're actually following behind closed doors is actually the truth, the type of truth that I'm talking about. Like I said, it's the Great Awakening period. It's time to wake your ass up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up, ladies and gentlemen. So Pope Leo could be the key to UFO disclosure, ex-Vatican advisor says. A former advisor to the Vatican believes a newly elected Pope Leo will lead the Catholic Church in disclosing information about extraterrestrial life, potentially transforming humanity's understanding of it. Another publication. Yeah, that's a part of the same one. And then I think he's going to be the disclosure Pope, right? It ain't no think. He is going to be the disclosure Pope because according to the prophecy of popes, in 2027, that's going to be when the world ends. And that's also the same year, the same damn year where you're going to have the solar eclipse for 6 minutes. But how you know that that solar eclipse for 6 minutes is not actually the alien probe that's going to be sitting over our planet that is also equated to the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, right? Like I said, everything's inside the movies. You cannot make this up. And then it says UAP whistleblower did everything right, but he did not get support. Jeremy Corbell. The church's revelation will come in the same way that we are going to have a disclosure of what the American government knows about this in the next handful of years. So, like I said, full disclosure is coming up, baby. And it's one of those things where you got to get your mind, you have to process it. Because, like I said, they've been driving Jesus inside your damn skull for so long. But now when you about 40, 50 years old, when the truth come out, you know what I'm saying, you ain't going to know how to deal with it, right? Because the house of cards is falling, right? And so this is why people like me, and everybody who is propagating truth online, making posts about what's taking place on the planet, we're going to break your reality. Right? We're going to break your reality because we've been telling the truth the whole time, but you perceived us as crazy. You perceive Dr. Malachi Z. York as crazy. You perceive, Norbert Ali is crazy. Elijah Muhammad is crazy. They've been telling you about extraterrestrial entities the whole time, right? That's what the Bible is all about. That's what the Holy Quran is all about. That's what the Talmud is all about. All these things are part of monotheistic religion is actually talking about extraterrestrial entities. You got to understand that. It's time to wake up. So it tells you right here, we already looked at the 3-eye atlas. It's said to be an invader comet, right? Now, scientists have discovered a mysterious intergalactic object, which is the 3-eye atlas, could arrive around November of 2025, right? Just like what's that one movie, the V for Vendetta, talking about remember the 5th of November or the 4th of November, one of the two. So November is a critical month. You got to pay attention to November. Now, everything that Dr. Malachi Z. York been talking about in his publications is actually coming to true in real time. So a cylinder-shaped craft. Watch this. It's showing you the same thing, but they try to perceive it. They try to make it something that's like a rock. They try to dumb down the information. Because one thing you got to understand about the Anunnaki ancestors, you know what I'm saying? They're not, they're not primitive. They're highly technological, meaning that they're highly advanced. So they're not pulling up in no motherfucking rock. They're going to pull up in style. They're going to pull up, you know what I'm saying, in something that you're going to be like, damn, this is out of this world, right? So the same thing takes place. So the perception of art imitates reality. So Dr. York, he was getting downloads, and he put those downloads inside of his book. And what he showed you was a cylindrical craft that looks just like the 3-eye atlas. Mind you, Dr. York, he put out this book in around the year of like maybe 1999, year 2000, the Holy Tablets. And look, direct emulation. You can't make this up. Everybody in the chat put Dr. York was right and share this video. Matter of fact, and then you got this. This is Nibiru, right? What we call the mothership. So let me turn this picture. So what you're looking at, right? One thing you got to understand about real UFOs. Real UFOs operate on crystal technology. This is why they have, many different forms of color spectrums, because the color spectrum in itself coincides with, the photon-like spectrum that is within the firmament. So it's able to extract the energy from a magnetic force. And the magnetic force in itself has a magnetic conductor that gives a power to the antenna on top of the mothership. So it operates on crystal technology that creates a hologram beam. So it's able to suck up intrinsic energy by way of oscillating energy, which is electrical energy that moves off ether. That's how spaceships and everything move. They move off the vibrational octave vibrations of ether. It has an ethereal energy. This is why sometimes when you see pictures of Dr. York, he's showing you playing a flute, the same flute that the Green Ranger on Power Rangers used to play. Because one thing you got to understand about ethereal energy in itself has the ability to basically manipulate the space-time continuum. It has the ability to manipulate physical matter. So that's why I said anything that's connected to a form of crystal technology and magnetic force and magnetic conductors, it has a form of ethereal energy. It can manipulate everything in a simulation just based off vibration of what we call psychotronic magic. So, hold on. So everything that you see, like I said, a perception of art imitates reality. So what you're looking at right here is Nibiru, of what we call the Great Destroyer, or what we call Nabara when you get into ancient Proto-Semitic language. So when you're looking at right here, this is what some people perceive it as the purification sun, the red star Kachina, which is also known as the Great Purifier, the cleanser. So sometimes when you see Nibiru, you also see the sun looking like this, right? Direct emulation. You see how it has the sapphire and the ruby stone superconductor here in the middle, right there. And then just like, you know, how spaceships is able to operate, you have an emerald that sits in the middle of the starship. Just like we have an emerald energy that sits at the apex of our Makaba of what we call the heart chakra. Same thing translates, because we're basically a microcosm of the macrocosm. We're an emulation of everything as far as that was created by the supreme architects of the universe. So when you're looking at this right here, this is a sun. A lot of times the sun be so heavy it turns red because it's vibrating on the magnetic conductors. It's pulling on the energy. So it's not a coincidence that this cylindrical probe that they've been talking about, the 3-Eye Atlas, is showing you a direct emulation of it inside Dr. Malachi York's publication right here. Same thing with this. Nibiru is in some of the esoterics, they equate Nibiru to a sun, and that sun is the red star Kachina, the Great Purifier. So now I'm gonna show you another video. You can't make this stuff up, man. Like, cause it's gonna get very tricky out here. It's gonna get really critical, and it's gonna get very serious. And a lot of people ain't gonna be laughing. A lot of people ain't gonna be laughing in the next, you know, year, next 2 or 3 years, year or whatever. In between now and 2030, a lot of people ain't gonna be laughing. I'll tell you that much. Watch. So I'm gonna play this video. You can't make this stuff up, man. They putting it out in your face. So I'm gonna play this video. Listen very closely to what he's saying. I'm gonna play it about 2 times so everybody can absorb and, you know, and fathom the information that he's basically extrapolating.
You guys are not gonna believe this. When I first saw it, it blew my mind. We are literally living in the last seconds. There is a broadcast out right now stating what to do if you hear the trumpets blow. Basically, if you're...
Now, they even talk about that in the book of Revelations. I even talk about that in the last transmission of El's Holy Angel, talking about the transliteration of the book of Revelation. It talks about the trumpets, right? And you also you can't negate that Donald Trump is actually the last president that is also equated to the trumpets. The trumpets is playing. And that's what is it going to be demonstrating in this video. There's a broadcast that came out, I think it's over in Mexico, and it's talking about when you hear trumpets, don't go towards the trumpets and try to look for it. I'm going to just play the video. I'm going to replay it.
You guys are not going to believe this. When I first saw it, it blew my mind. We are literally living in the last seconds. There is a broadcast out right now stating what to do if you hear the trumpets blow. Basically, if you're left behind.
Trumpets of the Bible is what they basically speaking about. But those trumpets is actually frequencies. Frequencies being used to wake up the 144,000, the ones who had the sigil of the Most High on their forehead, which is the spirit of Melchizedek, which is the sigil of the Most High, the sigil of the Moravian symbol, right? As above, so below, meaning that you have to be energetically balanced in order to hear the trumpet. But a lot of you are not going to hear it because you have too many parasites in your neurological functions. You have too many parasites inside of your genetic format. Many are called, only few are chosen. So everybody not going to be able to hear the trumpet that he's basically talking about in this video.
What to do if you hear the trumpets blow. Basically, if you're left behind. Check it out for yourself.
If you are among the first to hear it, move away from other people. Do not talk to anyone who claims to have understood the message. If meaningless phrases begin to be repeated in a low voice or in sync, leave that area immediately. Do not follow anyone who moves toward the source of the sound. They no longer respond. If your house begins to shake slightly or the lights dim, find a place without windows and remain silent. Do not respond to any calls from outside, even if you recognize the voice, especially if it comes from above. After the third trumpet, the sound becomes internal. Some begin to hear it inside their skull.
Now, this is what I call psychotronic magic. They have the ability to manipulate human perception by way of the neurological functions with brain mapping technology that came from DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. They can put frequencies in your head and activate the parasites, and the parasites in itself can make it seem like somebody's talking to you. So that little voice in your head sometimes is not coming from the angels or the heavens or the ancestors. It's that motherfucking parasite inside your brain because you ate that pork steak last week, right? So that's why I said, as we get through the Great Awakening process, you have to speed up your vibration. How you speed up your vibration is called fasting. That's why they call it fast, because when you fast, like you're running, it speeds up your vibration. That's what fasting is used for, right? Why you think when you look at the word Ramadan, you got the word Ra when you look at the prefix, because Ra is equated to the sun, because the sun has the ability to speed up your vibration to basically extract the parasites from your physiology to where you can get real downloads and real messages from the Most High, to where you're not a victim of psychotronic magic that's happening by the deep state shadow government. That's the difference. That's how you're going to know if you're chosen, right? You're getting those real downloads. You're hearing the real trumpets, right? I'm going to keep playing the video. I'm going to go back a little bit.
Trumpet, the sound becomes internal. Some begin to hear it inside their skull. If that happens, write down what you hear and burn the paper without reading it. Don't share it. Don't say it. The signal seeks to replicate itself. Remain silent. Remain in the shadows. Don't pray. Don't look to the sky. Don't respond to the sound. Trumpets don't announce anyone's arrival. They are the warning that he is already here.
Now, what? Remember I told y'all about the video about the final sacrifice. Y'all think this shit is a joke. Y'all think I'll be on here just talking. There's going to be a smorgasbord event by the year of 2030, right? Why are they putting all this stuff out right now? Because like I said, they're gearing up for it right now. There's going to be a smorgasbord event. It's not one of those things where if you believe aliens are real, you can't negate that they have the technology that can create extraterrestrials by way of hybridization and genetic modification. You can create anything on this planet, right? Because it operates in the realm of probability. The realm of probability means that if you can think of the damn thing, it actually exists in a different dimension, and you can pull it in by way of psychotronic magic, by way of sigilicism, symbolism. You can do all types of things to where you can bring entities here. So like I said, people have to start waking up, because like I said, it's going to get tricky, it's going to get critical, and it's going to get scary. So it's not going to get scary to those who've been doing the work, doing the shadow work, eradicating their perception of fear, right? So like I said, salute to everybody in the chat who's been working on themselves, right? To prepare for what is to come. Because like I said, the media is preparing you, but they giving you misinformation. That's how you know they deal with false light. See, one thing you got to understand about demons. Demons don't dwell in the darkness. They dwell in the false light. And the false light plays both sides. So that means that they have to give you truth and lie at the same time to keep you in a state of confusion.
One's arrival. They are the warning that he is already here.
What in the world did we just witness? You gotta be kidding me. You heard it yourself. All I can say is, get your heart right with God, and you won't have to worry about it. See you guys in the clouds.
I'm gonna play this video again, man, but like I said, we in that time right now because that's not a coincidence. Why are they putting this out? Why are they putting out, you know, these different broadcastings and stuff like that, and all these I forgot what they call simulated events like that's going to happen, like it's going to happen in the future. Why are they doing that? They're not doing it for no reason. They're not doing it for no reason. I'm gonna play it back so you can hear the whole thing clearly without me interrupting. Sorry for talking so much.
You guys are not gonna believe this. When I first saw it, it blew my mind. We are literally living in the last seconds. There is a broadcast out right now stating what to do if you hear the trumpets blow. Basically, if you're left behind. Check it out for yourself.
If you are among the first to hear it, move away from other people. Do not talk to anyone who claims to have understood the message. If meaningless phrases begin to be repeated in a low voice or in sync, leave that area immediately. Do not follow anyone who moves toward the source of the sound. They no longer respond. If your house begins to shake slightly or the lights dim, find a place without windows and remain silent. Do not respond to any calls from outside, even if you recognize the voice, especially if it comes from above. After the third trumpet, the sound becomes internal. Some begin to hear it inside their skull. If that happens, write down what you hear and burn the paper without reading it. Don't share it. Don't say it. The signal seeks to replicate itself. Remain silent. Remain in the shadows. Don't pray. Don't look to the sky. Don't respond to the sound. Trumpets don't announce anyone's arrival. They are the warning that he is already here.
What in the world did we just witness? You gotta be kidding me. You heard it yourself. All I can say is, get your heart right with God, and you won't have to worry about it. See you guys in the clouds.
But he don't know that if you get your heart right, you become God. That's the diametrical difference. And you also cannot negate, you know, remember the Vatican, they came out with a publication in the year of 2023, and they were talking about apparitions on the planet, right? And how to, you know, basically a guideline handbook telling you what to do when you're dealing with an apparition or when you're talking about people who have the demon face syndrome. You can't forget about this stuff. See, it be so much shit going on that people be forgetting. You forgot about the demon face. You forgot about that conference that the Vatican had talking about apparitions. A lot of people be forgetting shit. People forgetting about those solar eclipses. Everything that happens translates to what's taking place right now. You got to understand that. Everybody put the rice bowls in the chat. Put those rice bowls in the chat because we cooking up information. We cooking up the truth of the golden age. And for those who don't know, the reason we putting the rice bowls in the chat is because my last name is Rice. So that's my energy signature. We're going to put the rice bowls up when we cooking. So what he was basically talking about is the core principles of mental energy manipulation of what we call psychotronic magic. At the core of psychotronic energy is the idea that things have special energy patterns. These patterns can be found, measured, and changed with radionic tools, homeopaths, and use the tools to make special remedies. As psychotronics grow, we learn more about how our minds change things. This opens up new ways to use technology and to unlock our mind's power. Now, like I said, in the beginning of the video of what I just showed you, we naturally have the ability to unlock and unravel, you know, different things in our processing system when you're talking about mind science technology. We have the ability to connect with the source and get messages and be able to speak with source. But like I said, by way of oscillating frequencies and electrical signals, you have radionics, and radionics coincides with the technology at DARPA, and they can put messages inside of your head, right? So be critical. That's why I said you have to be strong mentally as we get to the Great Awakening period, because they can use frequency modification and put messages in your head if you're operating from a low vibrational state. If you're not operating from supreme intelligence, if you're not working on yourself, you're not trying to get your dietary system right, you're going to be manipulated as we get through this transitional period. Now, in the video, remember I was telling you that, it was showing you that planet Earth was basically broke off in half. This happened during the time of the inception of creation, when you're talking about one of the first resets, right? So you had half of Tiamat, called Ki, which is Ka, planet Earth, broke off in half when you had Nibiru in our solar system, which is also known as Wormwood of the Bible, or the Great Destroyer. So the G-force, electromagnetic, force and radiation, it basically extracted plutonium bombs and comets and broke planet Earth off in half, right? So this is what you see. You see the comets right here going to the north wind and extracting and breaking planet Earth off in half, because this was the original moon. The original moon, what you see right here, was tether connected to planet Tiamat, or planet Ka. And once it broke off in half, that's when Shesky, King Gu, it went inside the Milky Way star constellation. So this, no, matter of fact, sorry about that. King Gu is actually the sleep spell moon, but we had an original moon that was connected to it. It's not in this diagram of what you see, but Shesky is King Gu. This is the sleep spell moon. This is the moon that was told into our solar system by draconian reptilians of what we call archons. This is the patriarchal moon that creates the illusion of physical matter. So this is the moon that controls the corporate apparatus, because this moon is the external hard drive of the planet Earth that is connected to Saturn. But Nibiru right here broke the planet off due to the extraction of plutonium bombs of comets, broke the planet off in half. And this is where it got mended back together. Let me turn it around. As you can see right here, you can see planet Earth with a little incision right here. So that means that it went through a revitalization process, because I told you that Nibiru, Wormwood, is actually a rogue planet. A rogue planet has its own autonomous ecological system, and it has its own solar system. So it shot a sun that came from the boss cluster, the 19th galaxy, which is outside of, way beyond the ice wall, outside of the firmament. One of the suns they took, they put it inside planet Earth, which is also known as the Black Sun today. So the Black Sun was projected from planet Nibiru, where the Grand Canyon is at, and it healed the planet right back, back. It healed back together, basically, of what you see right here in the diagram. Now, this is, the main reason why, stuff like this is happening. More than 150 million under heat alerts as temperature soars. It's going to get hotter on the planet. That's because the G-force, the electromagnetism from Nibiru, the cylindrical craft, whatever you want to call it, is coming here, right? Because I told you it's a rogue planet that has its own autonomous solar system. So that means that that planet is coming with maybe 2 or 3 different suns. All coincides with the Hopi mythology and the Hopi prophecy, the red star and the blue star Kachina harmonizing with our yellow sun, right? There's a reason why, even when you look at the movies, there's a reason why you got Sonic, then you got Knuckles, and then I forgot the other guy's name. He's orange. Those are the emulations of the 3 suns right there. They put it in your face every time since you was a kid. But I'm going to show you another video here in a second. Because a lot of people, like I said, they think this shit is fake. They think this is everything that's taking place on the planet right now it's a conspiracy. It's not real. But that's the one thing about me. I'm going to pull them receipts up. And I'm going to make you, the receipts in itself is going to break your mind. It's going to break your indoctrination. Right? In this video right here, I'm going to show you, it's a guy. He said that he's seen a guy falling from the sky. he didn't see him falling from the sky. He just appeared out of thin air like he came from a portal, and he started running. I'm gonna play the video. Listen closely, and if you ain't got your captions on, put the captions on.
Appeared in the middle of the street. A nigga just appeared in the middle of the street, man, and was running, man. He didn't come out of no building. He didn't run from this way or for that way. That nigga just appeared in the middle of the street and started running, man. I never seen no shit like this in my life.
You seen him, then we know we're not bugging out together.
That's a fact, B. And we saw the same shit. He didn't come out of nothing. That's a fact. And that nigga just popped in the middle of the street running, man. He dropped from the sky. A nigga just appeared.
Exactly. You can't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot make this up. Because the ancient ones are here. The return of the Anunnaki. They're here. They're here. But like I said, a lot of people is not going to make it to the hereafter because they're stuck mentally. They're trapped in a recursive trauma loop. They're trapped. So now, even when in the Bible, it tells you in the book of Deuteronomy, it talks about how you have Nephilim. Now, those Nephilim, you know, they were giants, right? The Anunnaki, they were giants. That's because you had an omnicron-based atmosphere where it was based in hydrogen. And so when you're talking about oxygen levels, those oxygen levels, like I said, is really omnicron. It's a frequency. It's a solar frequency, right? So this is why it says right here 3 million years ago, when oxygen levels were higher, insects grew bigger. So this is why you had giants during the times of the biblical times of what they talk about in the monotheistic religion. Because when you go to the book of Deuteronomy, it talks about the size of the Nephilim. Now, the size of the Nephilim is 9 cubits of a man. And 1 cubit of a man is 18 inches. So you take 18 times 9, you get 162 inches divided by 12, you get 13.5 feet. That was the height of the Nephilim. That is the height of some of these Anunnaki. They might be bigger than that as well, right? That's because you had an omnicron-based atmosphere. They gave an influx of hydrogen to the atmosphere to where the animals and entities or whatever, they grew large, right? Because an omnicron-based atmosphere is based in gamma radiation. Anything that's based in gamma radiation is actually ether. And ether has the ability to make things grow intrinsically. That's why when you watch the movie Meteor Man, when he put his ethereal energy, he put his hands on top of those. He went to an impoverished neighborhood in the movie, and he went to a park and he put his hands on different fruits and vegetables, and they grew like huge, like so fucking big as like skyscrapers. He had that ability, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying an omnicron-based atmosphere has gamma radiation, but that gamma radiation is ether. So anytime that you see a manipulation in the atmosphere and you start to see things start to get bigger, that means that the firmament is starting to break off. So now, remember in the beginning of the video, I was telling you that you have a Luciferian Anunnaki. The Luciferian Anunnaki are the ones who control the Canaanite. And the Canaanite is actually the one that can't break outside the firmament. So a lot of these celebrities, they cannot leave the planet because they're stuck here because they're part of the cursed seed of the Bible when you get to the book of Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers, because those are all law books for the Canaanite, right? So this is why you see people like Rick Owens. He has a mansion in the water over in Italy, right? I forgot the place's name over in Italy, but it's basically in alignment with a portal that's inside of that ocean, right? So this is just from my logical assertion because his wife is named Michelle Lammy. And Michelle Lammy is also in conjunction with Marina Abramovic, whatever her name is. Both of them are witches, but I think that Michelle and her husband, Rick Owens, are actually draconian reptilian. I think they're hybrids. And the reason I say that is because, you know, when you look inside of this mansion, it's very aquatic. It's very aquatic, and it's almost one of those things like when you go to the zoo, it looks like you're going through a decoy system for snakes and serpents or whatever. That's what the inside of this mansion basically looks like. So a lot of people don't understand, you know, the concept and the mechanics of, you know, shape shifting. Shape-shifting takes place when you have the activation of the chromatophore. The chromatophore is a processing system which activates the melanocortin-1 receptor gene. And the melanocortin-1 receptor gene is what bends the photon light spectrum due to the activation of parasites that clings on to the reptilian cortex of the brain. So put it like this. My PS5 is a processing system. It's a processing system that gives an activation to the TV to create an image of what I'm actually playing on the screen. So the chromatophore is the PS5, which activates the melanocortin-1 receptor gene that gives a draconian reptilian the ability to shapeshift. Because the shapeshifting in itself is the image, and the image is facilitated by liquid crystal polarization technology that operates with actual technology. That's how they cloak themselves. They cloak themselves through technology, right? So a lot of these homes that these celebrities are building are really is another mechanism for them to basically escape judgment, right? They're trying to go back into these different wormholes of when they came and infiltrated the planet during the times of Atlantis and things of that nature, right? So a lot of these homes, they sit on dark energy ley lines when you get into the metaphysics of geomancy. So it's not a coincidence that he built this home right here. Because like I said, from my logical assertion, I think that him and his wife are draconian hybrids, right? That's a whole different topic. Because I got a whole video that basically extrapolates the information talking about Michelle Lamy and how she's about, 2,000 years old. So now this is why I was saying Lucifer, he's actually a draconian reptilian. Lucifer was a product of a mixed marriage, being the son of two beings, the reptilian Tarnush, right? The Anunnaki Malita, which made Lucifer part reptilian and part Anunnaki. Right. This is why, like I said, part Anunnaki and part draconian reptilian is the epitome of the tetragrammaton, which is agreeable and disagreeable, which is also equated to Yahweh. Right. Now, this is where it kind of gets, where it gets crazy. Because, like I said, everything is connected. When you're talking about all these celestial alignments, when you're talking about this cosmological phenomenon, everything's connected. Everything operates by way of the frequency of allism. All is mental. So that means that one conspiracy is connected to many different truths, right? Everything is connected. So the view from Earth is Ton 618. The second largest known black hole in the universe was at the same distance from Earth as Alpha Centauri. Now, 618, this is a dark matter energy code. That is the code for the fingerprint of the universe. That is a code for the womb of creation. Because 618 is equated to where you have Little Egypt at. So it tells you right here the story of how the 618 area code was created. Because one thing you got to understand about the 618 code, because what is 6 times 3? That's 18. So you got 666. That's 18. So there's a reason why they call the area of where you have Little Egypt what you call BDELL. What is carbon? Carbon is the building block of all civilization. So that means that the apex of civilization started right here where you have St. Louis, which is a portal, right? Not a coincidence. And this is also where the New Madrid fault line was at. And this is also where the 2023 Ring of Fire solar eclipse on October 14th on my birthday, this is where the solar eclipse was at. Because 618 is actually 666. That is the activation of the carbon in that geographical landmass, which is going to facilitate the sedimentary rock formation of the New Madrid fault line that's tether connected to all the fault lines on planet Earth, right? Where you have the big one. I've been talking about the big one for so long. This is all connected to Yellowstone and all that, right? This is why the animals are starting to deviate from certain land masses. So the 618 area code is really the 666 area code. 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons. Carbon. That's why it's called BDELL right here. So the 618 code is really talking about this. The area code of 618 in southern Illinois and some parts of in Missouri, the view from Earth, Ton 618, the second largest known black hole. That's because that 2023 Ring of Fire solar eclipse, that wasn't a solar eclipse. That was a black sun. And that black sun is pulling us right back into the galactic center like I've been speaking about. So that black hole is actually the black sun, right? So the solar eclipse that I'm basically talking about is actually right here, 618. This is where the 618 area code is at. And it also created the ancient Hebrew Tav symbol, ancient Alph symbol, because it's the sigil of judgment. And the reason it's connected to a form of judgment because this is where all the ley lines is at. Anytime you see a demarcation point, this is where all the fault lines is at. This is where the Seamount Axle, Mount Shasta, root chakra of Earth, and I forgot what you got, Jupiter, Texas down here, because Jupiter, Texas is in alignment with the gas giant that's outside the firmament that gives an ethereal energy to this geographical area as well. So there's a reason why, Elon Musk, he's using, occultic cybernetics to build, a supercomputer called Colossus, I think. It's called Colossus or something like that. That's because he's trying to absorb the energy. He's basically siphoning energy that's streaming down from the cosmos, right? That's why the computer is being made in Memphis, right? Because that's really the true Egypt. But little Egypt is right here in the 618 of what they call the black hole, right? You can't make this up. You cannot make this up, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I'm connecting some dots for y'all because I'm letting y'all know what time it is. And the dots got to be connected because a lot of y'all live in these areas. A lot of y'all live in, because what's going to happen is, let's just say this fault line gets activated, this fault line gets activated, this fault line gets activated. All this is going underwater. All this is going underwater, and all this is going underwater. That's why I said, I remember Dr. York, he said that the information that he provides in his publications, he's the messenger. He's the messenger. He was the one with the message and he put it inside his publications. But the ones that's able to carry out the information into the future are the reformers. So everybody who is, able to draw the lines and connect the dots and use the edification from Dr. York and to where you're able to see futuristic events and telegraph what's going to happen, we are the reformers. We are reforming the system by way of consciousness, by way of symbolism, by way of showing you and demonstrating knowledge that's taking place in real time. So like I said, there's a tetrahedron. Anytime you see triangles, it has a tetrahedron energy because Atlanta is the epicenter of consciousness, black consciousness. New Orleans is also a center of consciousness. Then you also got Memphis right here, which is another center of consciousness, which is why Elon Musk, he put that computer right there to siphon the energy. Because he knows that the return of the great ones are here. Now, I meant to show you this. Now, you got to watch. I did a breakdown on this already about the Fantastic Four. But when you're looking at this sigil, you got to, like I said, if you ain't going to understand the symbolism, your ass is going to get left behind every time. Your ass is going to get left in the silver age of Pisces. You know what I'm saying? You still on that lunar energy. So that's why your ass is not going to be able to get it. So the Fantastic Four, when you look at the symbol, this is exactly what you're looking at. You see the number 4 right here. They telling you every time. This is nothing but symbolism telling you that the judgment is here because this is a judgment symbol. Because when you get into ancient Proto-Semitic language by way of numerology, the 4 in the esoterics is associated with the letter A. So a lot of times when you see this, they say that this is an anarchy symbol. They say this is also the symbol of the Antichrist. But the mechanics, the inception of it, this is an ancient Hebrew Tav symbol, right? That is created by the solar eclipses. which creates the number 4. You just had Fantastic Four come out, and they were talking about the 4 classical elements that harmonizes with ether, which is Mercury, which was the Silver Surfer, who was the messenger that's associated with Gemini. He came to the planet with a message. Hey, y'all ain't got that much time. It's time to, it's time to wake up because Galactus is about to come. He's about to hit that motherfucking reset button. That's what this is basically talking about. Same thing taking place in real time, but you just not paying attention. Y'all not paying, like, people are not paying attention. So with that being said, I'm gonna give a brief rundown, brief synopsis about the video. So if you're new to the channel, like I said, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and put the rice bowls in the chat. Put those rice emojis up because we cooked up some edification tonight. We cooked it up, and we made a lot of things make sense. And I hope I hope I gave a lot of clarification for people who were stuck in, was very stagnant with information and had a lot of brain fog. So the inception of this demonstration, when you're talking about the Anunnaki and the Great Return, is based on these 2 publications that I'm about to show you. It's based on this publication, talking about a possible hostile alien threat, and it's based on this publication, talking about the Boss supercluster, right? Which is what they call the cosmological paradise of what we call the heavens, the abode of the Most High, right? So the Boss cluster, the supercluster, is actually the paradise that they speak in the Bible, which is also known as the heavens. So that's why it's not a coincidence when you look at Dr. York's publication in the Holy Tablets, it shows you the trinary star system, and it looks like a direct emulation of different planets that coincides with the Boss supercluster. So the 19th galaxy is actually known as the Boss cluster, which is the Great Wall. So another term for the Boss supercluster is the Great Wall. The Great Wall, what is the wall? Why would you call something that's connected to something cosmic, why would you call it a wall? That's because the wall they speaking of is the wall in Antarctica. So that means that the paradise, the heavens that they speak about in the Bible is beyond the ice wall. You notice you see the word paradise right here. Paradise right here. Can't make this up. Paradise right here. Same place. And it looks just like a direct emulation of Dr. York, of what he put in his books in the early 2000s, in the 1990s. Not a coincidence. So the heavens that everybody's speaking about is actually outside the ice wall, which is why you have a no-fly zone over Antarctica that creates the sigil of Lucifer, which is also known as the Khazarian Tamga or the Maurvian symbol. So that's why the Deep Shadow government, they had a meeting in Antarctica in 2019, right before you had the shutdown. Remember. So this all coincides with, Elihu, the Holy Quran, chapter 83, verse 6. It tells you that it's the Most High, the supreme places of the Most High, of what they call the paradise. So it talks about Elihu. Elihu is Elias, the same thing. Now I'm gonna talk to you guys for a second. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we living in very critical times right now. You have to start using your spiritual discernment and understand like what's taking place by way of symbolism, by way of frequency, by way of etymology, and by way of doing your own independent research. You got to understand what's taking place right now. You don't want to get caught up into the technology of the simulation, because everything they basically doing right now is a form of distraction. Just like with Dr. Umar, everybody worried about what the fuck he doing. Don't nobody care about, like if you got scammed, I feel bad for you or whatever. But it's one of those things where you got to understand that Dr. Umar, a lot of people, they perceive him as an agent. And how it could be one of those things where they using Dr. Umar Johnson as a catalyst to distract people in the conscious community so they won't catch on to what's going to be taking place in the future. So that's why I say you can't get caught up into all the blog talk and the celebrity talk. You can't get caught up into that. Stay, keep your edification. Keep your dark and your light side. Keep your dark and your light side. Keep the edification going and keep bettering yourself. That's how you level up. That's how you wake up if you're still asleep. Don't get caught up into the bread and circus of everything that's taking place on YouTube. Don't get caught up into the distractions of celebrity gossip and all this other stuff. There's a reason why there's so many distractions that's taking place right now. That's because something's about to happen. I know everybody in the YouTube community, the conscious community, spiritual community, we say something's going to happen. That's because it is. It has to. It has to happen before the year 2030. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching this video. End of transmission.
Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Man, my auntie passed last night. This is a sad life, I'm trying to get my cash right. Past bright, yeah, I'm shining like a flashlight. Trying to take off quick, might catch a fast flight. I'm mad tight, shitting on her with my ass wipes. Staying away from old friends, they all seem fake to me. Hating me, cause I'm getting dough just like the bakery. I'm tired of a mediocre life. I got hopes of Mike's fiends smoking pipes. This is the second song that I wrote tonight. Haters open spite, how we got such a focused sight. I done flirted with death. 98 was the birth of the best. Grass cut from the surface I met. Rhymes I steadily spew, my hope will never be through. When it's all said and done, they'll remember me too. Life's a trip, regardless if the lace is tied. I'm spitting dope on my listeners, I make them high. The media got your brains baked and fried. Great supply, take your eyes and replace them with the ancient lies. I'm too cold, I spit hot. New flows for hip-hop, a few shows and get guap. New clothes, no wristwatch. I don't really care about your materialistic. Spazzing in the booth from iller than venereal sickness. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Gotta count my blessings even though I'm daily stressing. See, my brain is a weapon, I can use it for protection. Used to take dabs off the rip like collections. Flows very often relative to beat selections. Block your number, cut you off, I hope you get the message. Hold the mic close to me like it's supposed to be. Haters act like they don't notice me, but I'm too focused, see. I devote to dreams and promote my schemes. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix.